Welcome to Masters of Self University podcast, your highest source of sacred truths and universal wisdom. Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Rachel Fiori, mystic, spiritual teacher, psychic healer, and founder of Masters of Self University. Join our journey of soul transformation as we deep dive into this latest episode. Hello, magnificent beings and beautiful souls. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Masters of Self University podcast. I'm Rachel Fiori, your host for this episode. Thank you for tuning in and listening. This is part 2 of 2024 predictions. So I want to be very distinct and clear. If you have stumbled upon this episode, and you have not listened to 2024 predictions part 1, for you to understand and be able to do a lot of what I'm going to offer in this episode, it's really important to get the foundation and understand what I've already taught in part 1. So if you are here and you haven't listened to last week's episode, 2024 predictions part 1, please go listen to that right now and then come back to the part 2. Okay. For those of you who already listened to part 1, welcome back. Thank you for listening. I'm so excited that you're here for part 2. And let's dive in. Let's dive in. So I've mentioned last week in the last episode how excited I am that 2024 is here. And I really am. I am so excited. I am so excited for all of the extremes that we are likely going to see in 2024 that I've described in part 1. And the reason why I'm excited for all of these extremes, even though the extremes come with, remember that analogy I gave of the magical buffet? And yes, it comes with all the horrors and the negativity and the extremes of the most horrific things we could create and manifest as humankind, right? So yes, that's there too. And why would I be excited about that? Because it means we're closer to choosing the earth dimensional reality that we will end up on in the not too distant future. It means that everything is coming to a head. Everything is being exposed, which means we are closer and closer to being able to choose a final destination, so to speak. And we're able to powerfully and consciously choose the dimensional earth that we, by doing the work on ourselves, have earned. Ooh, listen to the word I chose there. The earth that you end up on in the future, once that final decision is made and you can't change that anymore, it doesn't mean you can't continue to raise your vibrational frequency, learn your lessons, go higher, become enlightened. You can. But if you're trapped in an old version of earth, at a very low, negative, horrific version of earth, you have to do it on that version of earth. You don't get to jump over to a higher earth dimension once this final timeline is put in place. Does that make sense? So it doesn't mean you can't evolve and become enlightened and free yourselves in emotionally, spiritually, mentally. You can, no matter what version of earth you go to. And of course, I encourage you, wherever you end up, to do just that. That's why your soul incarnated. Hello, like achieve what your soul came here to do, for crying out loud. Whatever earth dimension you end up on in the next several years, however long it's going to take. But this next year to 18 months or so is really critical to the final destination of earth dimension that you will end up on for the rest of your life. And then you will be in that reality forever. And that is where you will continue your life experience, your soul's mission, your evolution, if you choose to keep going higher and evolving. But it will be on that dimension that you chose. By that you chose, it is your choice. I don't mean mentally your choice. It is your choice. The choosing happens by the vibrational frequency that you actually resonate at. Listen to me clearly. I am here to teach you and help you if you accept it. Where you vibrate energetically has nothing to do with how spiritual you are. It has nothing to do with where you think you vibrate or you like to believe you're at. Oh, I function in 5D already. Are you sure? Have you studied the 20 universal ways of oneness? Do you have the level of education to teach you how you are actually vibrating, whether you realize it or not? Oh, no, I know I'm a high vibe person. Do you know every which way that you lack the way of responsibility and you don't even realize it? That's the first way of oneness. Do you understand how you are energetically creating inequality in so many aspects of your life? And you think you are the way of equality because you have zero resistance or harm or judgment of, say, you're heterosexual and you're like, of course, homosexuality is not a big deal. Don't, it's not even a second thought. When it comes to race, there's no such thing as race anyway. It isn't even real. Different skin colors are fucking beautiful. What the fuck people hung up on a race? You're not racist. You don't, because you may be there, give a shit about skin color. We're all the same goddamn race. We're the human race. You may be elevated enough to be there, for example, but do you still think a dog is a pet and inferior and not as important as your life? Do you still believe a cow or a farm animal is inferior to you as a human? Ooh, if you still create inequality, which that is an example of inequality, if you lack the way of honoring of other beings on this planet. Oh no, no, I like animals. They're cool. Make sure your dog lives outside. No, they're not supposed to fucking live outside. They're your goddamn pack. They are your family. You don't stick them outside. You don't stick a pack animal outside to be left alone by himself, isolated, neglected. You are not ending up in a dimensional earth that is of an extraordinarily high vibrational frequency. What you're going to end up on is an earth where a lack of equality reigns. And you will learn the lessons there. You will suffer however you need to suffer there in order for you to finally wake up to the vibrational frequency of what the way of equality actually means. Guess what? It's not just about people. If you think the way of equality only pertains to humans, hello, you're not the way of equality. You have a lot of learning to do. You have a lot of evolving to do. And because of that, that is how energetically you are choosing to then go on an aspect of an earth dimension that will teach you the main thing that your soul needs to learn, the way of equality, which means you're going to go on an earth that has extraordinary levels of inequality. And you're going to suffer there until you learn how to honor all beings, plants, animals, in the ways they're meant to be honored, not in the ways that your mind tells you, well, this is honoring, isn't it? Mm-mm. You have to become an enlightened being with the way of wisdom that understands what the way of equality actually is. You function as that, you think as that, you believe as that, you feel as that. You feel it as a vibrational frequency. You can feel what that feels like, and it is glorious. And it's so divinely magnificent that when you feel that frequency, it's almost impossible not to cry. It is heaven on earth to feel that frequency. To be that frequency is the miracle that you can become. Do you understand? So if you don't function in that, and just by you saying you function as the way of equality, for as I stay with this one example for now, doesn't mean you are. And then you're going to end up on that dimensional earth on a vibrational frequency where it's extreme inequality and a tremendous amount of ignorance, so that you can wake up to wisdom of what you need to see, learn, and become, evolve into. Do you understand? That's what's happening. That is the decision that has been made by beings that are sick and tired of Earth, the beings on this planet functioning the way that we function, being so trapped in separation consciousness and such a low level of functioning where people wake up a little bit and then they're like, oh, I'm so enlightened. And it's like, you don't even see where you function from a shadow self. That's never a judgment. It's part of teaching you so that you can awaken authentically and to the highest level that you choose to, or that you're capable of awakening to. Do you see it? That's the teaching. Okay. Your willingness to learn. Ooh, your willingness to learn. There's another one. When you are so open and willing to learn, you will be guided and you will be taught by authentic teachers. Okay. You have to choose that to become. It's a becoming. It's a becoming. So everything, this part 2 is so that we can dive a little bit more specifically. Okay. So I'm going to let me stick with animals for a moment. This is an easy example. Here's where I want you to see where you can fall into traps of negative vibrational frequencies that you don't want to end up on that type of earth dimension. Okay. But you will. It doesn't matter that you're oblivious. If that's where you as a being, your energetic frequencies are aligned with that, that is the earth dimension that you're going to end up. And again, sometime over the next like 3 years is when I am being shown that that's happening. If I ever get more specific over the next year about the timeline, I'm happy to share it. Right now, you know, most of this is happening in 2024, as I explained in part 1. Again, if you haven't listened to part 1, please go listen to that first. Okay. So let's stick with animals as an example for a moment. Okay. So let's say you being this beautiful being of harmlessness and gentleness, which I know a lot of you listen. If you listen to me, I know that you are. You have a love for beings, for the planet. You have a love for animals. Many of you listening to me, you're going to vibrate at that higher vibrational frequency where you don't want harm to come to anybody. You don't want harm to come to any being, not to humans, not to animals, not to the earth. And if that's the case, here's one of the traps. Okay. As you know, horrific things happen to nature, to wildlife, the torture, the murder of animals, the torture of dogs in certain parts of the world for dog meat, and torture. It's not like dogs are just seen as food and they're slaughtered and eaten. It's not that simple. Okay. Many of you know the horrors, and then some of you angels are out there, angels incarnated, that are rescuing animals from the dog meat industry, and you're going to great lengths to get them out of the torture. They are so fucking tortured in the most horrific ways. Okay. Just like farm animals are in our regular farming industry, the old third dimensional farming that still exists, the meat industry and dairy industry. That kind of torture, when you see something like that and you become aware of it, or maybe you see something in the media or you're scrolling on social media, whatever, and you come across this horrific thing that you see as a being of harmlessness and gentleness, as an empath, maybe it just kills you, breaks your heart immediately. I mean, it's hard for me to even talk about this, and I don't like not to get emotional and just want to cry. My heart bleeds for these poor souls, the way the humans treat them. It's just awful, and it's unacceptable, and is not okay. And yet it exists. Okay. So here's a trap. You see it, you have the emotional reaction, and then you're pulled down to this negative vibrational frequency. Okay. You're pulled down to this negative vibrational frequency. Understand, as a divine teaching, you're meant to be pulled low by seeing what you just witnessed. You are meant to. You're supposed to. You're not supposed to see that and have zero reaction to it. That makes you a psychopath. No empathy, you're a psychopath. No emotion at all, no, not a care in the world to the torture of what you just witnessed, of that dog or that cat or that. cow or that pig or that whatever animal or that orangutan in a forest who desperately is trying to save its home and it's being torn down in front of it. The fires break out in Australia and you see koalas on fire burning alive. If you if you are not affected in any kind of an emotional way by witnessing that, then I say this with no judgment, there's something seriously wrong, and you're probably not listening to me. Let me put it that way. But it's and I'm not saying this with any kind of judgment. You are so far from being connected to your divinity that you have a long way to go as far as your own personal evolution goes. Okay? You will not be on a dimension that you'll be on like the lowest dimensions when we all get there. And again, I'm not saying that with any kind of judgment or superiority. None of that exists here. It's this, I'm just teaching you. Okay. So when you are connected to your divinity, of course that's going to pull at your heartstrings. Of course it's going to be emotionally painful to witness that. And it's horrifying. Here's the trap: that you get stuck in that energy, that you get trapped there. You're meant to learn from it so that you don't choose to continue to create that reality. How do you not accidentally co-create a reality where that stuff exists when you are completely ignorant to it? Think about that. That lacks the way of wisdom. That's not the way of wisdom. That's ignorance. You have to be aware of what we as humans are capable of creating. You cannot turn a blind eye and call yourself a divine person. You cannot spiritually bypass that and call yourself a goddamn divine person. You're not. Not even close. You haven't even made it to preschool. You're in infanthood. Literally, when it comes to your level of spiritual growth. And I don't care how spiritual you are, or how many robes or what your garb is, and what you chant or ohm to or whatever the hell. That means nothing. Okay. You don't spiritually bypass it and ignore it and pretend like we humans didn't create this shit. It is here to learn from. How horrifying that you're to learn from it. Teachers that have taken students on field trips to see how animals are actually treated before it gets to the grocery store, before it gets to the plate in front of you to eat. And you call the teacher something wrong with the teacher. No, that is an evolved teacher. Children should be taught. You don't lead them blindly in ignorance, and they have no idea how they are contributing to a violent, horrific society that they then grow up co-creating because they've been brainwashed to believe what they've been brainwashed to believe or not see. When you're blind to something doesn't mean you're not co-creating the most horrific things on this planet, because you are. We are divine co-creators. Whether you realize what you're creating and how you're creating it or not, doesn't mean you're not fucking creating it. That level of ignorance. Oh, I want to protect my children. You're not protecting your children, and you sure as fuck aren't protecting animals or any other humans on this planet by living in fucking ignorance, by putting blindfolds on. Put your blinders on and pretend not to see shit. You will end up on the dimensions of the lowest kind, the most horrific thing. Why? You think you won't end up in the dimensions of Earth on your final destination that are the most horrific that exist, with the most violence, with wars, with coups, with battles, with fighting? That is 100% where you will end up, because the vibrational frequency of your ignorance matches up with that, and that is where you're going to end up. You don't pretend like this stuff doesn't exist, but you can't get trapped in those vibrational frequencies either. Ooh, Masters of Self University. Master the self. How do you do that? You see what you see. knowing that when you are a divine being connected to your divinity, of course, that's not going to feel good. It might make you emotional, it might make you sad, it might make you cry, you might feel the horrors of it emotionally, energetically, in your heart chakra, in your body. And when that happens, you pause, you breathe, you drop in, you become the ways of oneness, the way of compassion. That is a vibrational frequency to elevate to in that moment. Do you understand that? Energetically, that is a process to learn how to do, how to become the vibrational frequency of the way of compassion. That is what this work is. That is what I teach as a teacher of oneness consciousness. This is what it means to become an initiate of oneness consciousness, an initiate of the 20 universal ways of oneness. It is a becoming. Energetically, vibrationally speaking, you are becoming the vibrational frequency that is needed in that moment. You are then that vibrational frequency. And that is what you radiate out to the world and to all beings. And you send that compassion, harmlessness, and gentleness. You become the way of compassion. You become the way of harmlessness and gentleness. You become the way of unconditional love. You become the way of equality in those moments. Those are vibrational frequencies for you to literally vibrate and resonate. And that starts vibrating out into the world. And then you can literally send that to the animal or animals that you just witnessed in this horrific thing that maybe you scrolled on social media, to the dogs that you just saw abused. You are sending that energy to those beings that need it. What that does, that aligns you with a vibrational frequency of Earth, the dimension of Earth where you will eventually end up, where the dominant frequencies of that Earth are oneness consciousness, specifically, for example, compassion, harmlessness and gentleness, equality, the way of purity, the way of harmony, the way of unconditional love. Whatever frequencies you used and you become, you are aligning yourself into that earth dimension where your final resting place to live the rest of your life and experience the rest of your life as a human will be in that dimension at some point, because you're aligning yourself there. You don't do this once or twice and then there, I did it. You don't fake it, because you can't fake it. Oh, let me send this love. Let me send this. Oh, let me send love over there. You have to energetically become the way of unconditional love, for example. You have to become the vibrational frequency of the way of honoring, for example. If you are vibrating at that frequency, that is the dimension that you will end up on. If you're not, and you just do it here and there, like as a practice, it's great that you're doing that. You're not going to those dimensions, though. You're going to go to a lower dimension where you still have to learn what it means to become and evolve truly, not just gain a bunch of knowledge up here mentally, do a meditation practice, energy healing practice. Let me do this practice with the universal ways of oneness for a few minutes. There, look at me. I'm an evolved being. No, you're going to end up as a student in a version of Earth, a dimensional version of Earth, where you are exactly that, a student who needs to become very young spiritually speaking. You're very young, spiritually speaking. You need to go to a place where you will be guided and taught what it really means to become a divine being as incarnated as a human, while incarnated as a human. Does this make sense? Okay. Don't fall into the trap. You cannot spiritually bypass. I mean, you can, but that's again, the dimension you end up on, that's what's going to determine it. And you can't get trapped in it. So many empaths, you need to be careful. Don't let fear creep in when I say that. There's zero reason to be afraid. Alchemize it if you just got afraid. I'm saying this to teach you because it allows you to become more aware, and then you know what you need to do in the meantime. Alchemize the fear. Okay. So when I say empaths, be careful, it's a teaching. It's to help awaken you to what you can actually take action on and do and become, instead of let fear take over. Because if you stay trapped in, oh my God, the horror of this, the agony, If you stay stuck there, you will literally end up in a reality, an earth dimension that has nothing but those horrors because you are co-creating it when you are trapped in the vibrational frequency of it. Because the powerlessness energetically that you are exhibiting in that moment means victim consciousness. There's nothing you can do to help and save these animals. Here's the other part that is really critical. What is it that you are doing to put an end to that thing that you don't like? Oh, this key. Breathe. Open your hearts because this is the key. So, step one, energetically, don't fall into the traps, alchemize, drop into your heart, become the vibrational frequencies, send those vibrational frequencies out. Okay, that's step one. But step two, and this is key, what are you doing? What action are you taking to heal and alleviate what it is that you are seeing? Are you volunteering? Are you donating? Are you helping the dog on the side of the road that got hit by a car that nobody's stopping and helping? Literally, what are you doing? Are you rescuing an animal and maybe bringing an animal into your own family and learning how to train, how to be a leader, how to nurture, how to bring it back to health, whatever? What are you doing? Do you see an animal being completely mistreated and then you happen to have animals as a part of your family? Are you then looking at any way that you could treat them better and then doing it? And not just for a day or a week. You change who you are in order for them to feel unconditionally loved, to feel the way of honoring, to feel the way of compassion. Are you becoming a better version of you and treating your animal family members at a higher level? Because you're like, oh my gosh, that over there. So I don't abuse, I don't do that. But holy crap, let me take a look at the way that I treat my own family, animals in my family. Can I be a better family member to my animal family members? And then do it, become it. Do you understand? Do you, and it doesn't always have to come down to money. So don't be, linear in your thinking or small mindedness in your thinking when I share this. But like, do you, donate? Do you make people aware of other options and other choices? It doesn't mean you're forcing them. It doesn't mean you're shoving things down people's throats. It's just say, hey, do you know that if you still choose to eat meat, you could actually get a version of that where they don't torture animals and it's not filled with poison and you can get it from a regenerative farm? Just an option, just to, if you're curious about learning more and you want to be healthier and you don't want to contribute to torturing animals, there is a better option. Okay. For those of you who it still pulls at your heartstrings, and you're like, but no animal should be murdered for food consumption. I'm not telling you that we should or shouldn't eat animal. I'm not even discussing that right now. I'm giving you different examples of where people are at in different levels of consciousness. And wherever you are and wherever you can relate to, I'm just offering the teachings where you could go higher than that. So here's another trap. If you are a person of compassion, harmlessness, and gentleness, the way of equality, and you do not believe any animal should be eaten, and you are vegan or whatever, and absolutely not, are you going to contribute to murdering an animal for food? Okay. And that might be you listening. I'm sure there's a lot of people who listen to me who are, of course, are vegetarian and or vegan. Okay. And if that's you, here's a trap. When you are stuck and trapped in judgment, 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 I'm not telling you that what other people do is right or okay. torturing of animals, poisoning our food, none of it is fucking okay. You're never gonna hear me say it's okay. It's unacceptable, and we need to change all of this. This is part of the awakening of everyone, right now on this planet. This is part of awakening, is to no longer show up in but to no longer show up in these ways and co-create a world filled with all of this garbage and lower vibrational frequencies, you cannot have judgment. You cannot be on your superiority pedestal, inequality, the lack of the way of equality. You cannot see yourself and believe you are superior. You are possibly in a different grade of consciousness. However, if you are trapped in judgment and hate and anger and rage, oh my God, how are you any different than the person on the street who's violently attacking people or raping women? How are you any different than that man who's filled with hate and rage towards women? When you are filled energetically with hate and rage towards these people, and you're like, no, it's different. No, I'm here to teach you energetically. If you are filled with judgment and hate and rage, you are filled with judgment and hate and rage, which is why you will continue to see that in your reality. And when we get to the final destination of the earth dimension that you will end up on, you will continue to see the shit that you don't want to see. You will experience it in your human life because you're unawakened and you think you're so woke. Do you understand? You will continue to experience those things. And that is the dimension you will end up on as your final destination, because you are filled with anger, hate, and rage and judgment. You can't carry those vibrational frequencies and call yourself an awakened being, because you're not. And just because you don't cause harm in certain ways doesn't mean you're not causing harm in other ways. And you lack the way of wisdom to see the difference. You lack the way of truth. The way of truth isn't just being honest. It's seeing the truth in all things. Breathe. Do you see it? Is that a relief for some of you? Some of you are like, relief? No, fuck. For some of you, there's relief there. This should be relief. I don't want you. Don't make the mistake of going into mental programs. You're like, holy shit, I just realized she's talking about me. Oh my God. Oh no. If I'm talking about you and you realize that this is you who I've just described, and it doesn't have to be specific to animals, it could be in any scenario, but you realize, oh my God, I am filled with judgment, incredible judgment. That means I'm creating inequality on the planet. Oh my God. And I'm a feminist, or I'm a this, or I'm Black Lives Matter, and I'm all these things, and I promote and cheer for all these things, and I try to uplift people, and yet you're filled with hate and rage and judgment. Then you're going to end up on the dimension of Earth where you keep seeing all of those things of inequality. You are literally energetically creating inequality on this planet, when that is vibrationally what you are. So when you realize that and you hear me, okay, this is what I'm teaching you. When you understand that, go ahead, breathe, relief, breathe the relief. You should feel the relief. It shouldn't be, oh no, it should be, oh my God, holy shit. I just woke up. That's me. Magnificent, beautiful. I applaud you. That's a beautiful space to be in, because now you can change it. You're not changing anything when you didn't realize it. Now that you're seeing it, you can change it. You want help to change it? Go to mastersofselfuniversity.com. This is what we do. This is how we help you. All these teachings, this is what we do. Go get a free consultation, see kind of group coaching and classes, whatever. You can come join. We will help you. Okay. Stay tuned for our live events that are happening in 2024. Probably the best thing you could do is start to attend our live events in San Diego, California, in the United States. I'm serious about that. They're going to be incredible. Not just teaching, I will activate the vibrational frequencies of the 20 universal ways of oneness and teach you how to start to really become them. That's coming in 2024. Okay. Just as a side note, I want you to know that. So, what you can do right now on your own without the extra guidance, without attending the live events that we're going to be offering, in 2024, without, taking the classes or the coaching programs that we offer, what you can do right now is embrace what I'm teaching you and start to really wake up and increase your level of self-awareness. How am I creating energetically by running the programs of judgment, inequality? And you're like, well, I never thought of myself as somebody who's creating inequality on this planet. I fight for people's equal rights. Oneness consciousness. The highest level of enlightenment we can achieve is oneness consciousness. Those are the 20 universal ways of oneness. This is what I teach you, exactly what it means to energetically create inequality when you think you're creating and promoting equality on the planet, right? We lack this level of teaching. We have for centuries now. This is what I'm here to offer. This is why I'm teaching it to you. So you can begin to wake up to how you are creating harm, energetic harm to others, to beings on this planet, and you don't realize it. As an example, when you are disconnecting all the time to your divinity, creating disconnection, creating separation, when you're like all about connection, but I'm all about connection. It doesn't mean you're creating divine connection. Just because you're connecting to other people, you could be promoting and creating codependency. That's not divine connection. That's not the way of connection. Let that sink in. There are a lot of quote unquote spiritual people or coaches that exist that are like, oh, I do inner child work. Oh, I'm a transformational coach. And what you're doing is disconnecting people from divinity. What you're doing is actually connecting them to their wounds, their inner child, and keeping that alive and well. You're keeping that at a vibrational frequency of victimhood, of powerlessness, and you think you're helping. What dimension of earth are you going to end up on when that's how you're functioning? It doesn't matter that you don't know the difference. You think you're doing, you're helping. You think you're helping people. Well, my intention is, I don't care what your intentions are. I care what you are actually doing. I'm here to teach you what you are actually doing vibrationally, energetically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, what you are actually doing, what you are actually creating for yourself, for others, and for this planet. That's all that matters. The quality of human you are is the only thing that matters in life. The quality, right? The higher we go in our evolution and our vibrational frequency, the quality of human we are, the more divine we become. Means that if that man over there is cheating on his wife, and that's who he is as a person, and you do business with him, what does that say about you? Don't do business. Do you know what kind of human that? Why would you do business with a liar and a cheater and a snake? Somebody's going to sneak around and fucking lie to the person that they're married to and the most intimate with. Who the fuck do you think you are to that person? He doesn't care about his own wife and family, what he's doing to a person he married and supposedly loves. And you think in business, he's going to honor you? He's not just fucking using you? The way of wisdom, the way of loyalty, the way of unconditional love, the way of harmlessness and gentleness for Christ's sake. That person lacks all of that and more. And guess what? So do you. Not if you have no idea. It's when you wake up to what this person is. Holy shit. I will not do business with that person anymore. I'm done. I will not. You are sneaking around. You're a liar, cheater. You lack the way of truth. You lack the way of trust. The fuck you think you're going to have a successful business relationship forever? Maybe short term, but they're using you to get what they want. They're selfish. They lack empathy. They're untrustworthy. They lack the way of truth. Hello, and you want to do business with them. You are vibrating at the same frequencies that that person is vibrating at. And that is the earth, the dimension of earth that you're going to end up on, that you make exceptions. Well, it's none of my business. Fucking, that's the earth you're going to end up on. You're going to be that fucking weak and powerless. That's your choice. And then you're going to wonder why for the rest of your life, no one can be trusted. Everywhere you turn, everybody's backstabbing me. I don't understand it. I'm an honest person, except you choose to connect with and relate to and with people that lack the way of trust, the way of loyalty, the way of truth. They're dishonoring instead of the way of honoring. They are disloyal instead of the way of loyalty. And you wonder why you then over and over again you suffer, or people backstab you, and it might not be that person, but it'll be other people in your life. Why? Those are the vibrational frequencies energetically that you are functioning in. That's why. And so your choices that you make in 2024, especially over this next year, are going to start to align you with that final destination of the dimension of earth that you will end up on at some point. And that final destination, I don't know if it's 2026, if it's the end of 2025. I see it more as it's going to be in the next couple or several years, and then there's going to be one final split where there's no more overlap. Those old people that do not vibrate in the frequencies and the earth that you've created for yourself, you will not see those people again. You guys, I've mentioned this in part 1 of 2024 predictions, part 1, that it doesn't matter if they're family members, if they're spouses, if they're whatever, if they are not functioning in the same vibrational frequencies, the same octaves that you are energetically, vibrationally, their resonance is really drastically different than yours. Something is going to happen at some point, and I mean even death. Someone will die and drastically be removed from your life. You will be removed and to be the one to die, or they will. Something drastic will happen, or they'll just fade out of your life and you'll never see them or hear from them again. You will never run into them. The phone will be disconnected. The number will be changed. Like, do you understand? There will not be overlap at some point when we've reached the final destination of the earth dimension that you are going to end up in. You've made your choice. And if they have made a different choice by the way they function energetically, this is vibrationally speaking. I don't care what you want. And I think a lot of people out there, when they listen to me now, it's going to start to click more deeply because your level of consciousness is raising, you're evolving. So when I say things like, I don't fucking care what you want, instead of misinterpreting that teaching and be like, well, she's a fucking bitch, she's mean, I don't like her, I'm not going to listen to her. Well, mistake, joke's on you. I'm helping you beyond what you could have fucking imagined. When I say things to you like, fuck your intentions, I don't care what you fucking want. That is one of the highest forms of love that I can offer you, of selfless service that I can offer to you. And some of you are now really understanding what that means and what I am actually offering to you. When I say those things, don't give a fuck what you want. Fuck what you want. Fuck your beliefs. Fuck your intentions. Why do I say that? Because it isn't going to get you where you want to go. That's why. You're living in ignorance and a level of consciousness that's blinding you to what you are actually creating for yourself. And a lot of times, the only way to knock you one and slap you awake is to put it in that way, which is why I put it in that way sometimes. What did she just say? And for those who don't have a chance in hell of ending up on the earth that I'm going to go to, will just attack and project onto me. That's fine. Well, I'll never hear from you again at some point. I don't give a fuck. Put whatever comments you want. You're going to disappear completely within a matter of a few years. I'll never overlap with you ever again. I know what's coming. It doesn't bother me in the least. I'm completely energetically detached from it. And I have compassion for you, by the way, because I know where you're going to end up. And I say that with love and compassion and harmlessness and gentleness. It's unfortunate that you won't wake up with what I'm here to selflessly teach you, right? But that's your choice. That's your choice, not mine. Everybody has free will choice here, whether they realize it or not, and whether they realize what they're actually choosing. For those of you who are waking up and really hearing me now, when I say stuff like, I don't care what your intentions are, screw your intentions. Fuck your beliefs. You now understand better what I mean. Because vibrationally, I don't care what you want. I care vibrationally what you are, how you are actually showing up in this world versus how you like to think you are. Because energetically, vibrationally, your experiences are going to continue to be things that the last thing you want is often the very thing you are going to experience when you don't understand how this actually works on an energetic level. But all I want to do is help animals. I don't want animals to suffer. And yet you're trapping yourself in the vibrational frequency of nothing but torture to animals. When you really understand how that works, you can say, oh my God, I can be a rescuer. I can be a healer. I can help and not get trapped in the lower vibrational frequency. Yes. How do you do that? Become the goddamn vibrational frequencies of each and every universal way of oneness. That is your way out, people. Like I'm here offering it to you. Just become it. Just become it, for crying out loud. Become. Grab the book on Amazon, The 20 Universal Ways of Oneness, if you haven't already. Become each and every way. I mean this. Okay. It doesn't mean you're going to end up on the highest frequency of earth, oneness, consciousness, earth of the 20 ways of oneness. And there won't be animals in need. There will be, especially for years to come, there's going to be a lot of animals that come from who have chosen a dimension of earth that might have been sick and tortured and harmed, and they're here for us to heal so that we can become the oneness we're meant to become with them. So there will still be animals that need rescuing, that need rehabilitation, that need our help. Eventually, over decades and longer than that, of course, what will evolve into that new earth, that highest level of dimension of earth, what we'll evolve into is a way to function with animals in harmony that is just the most beautiful heaven on earth. And what will become for them in harmony is service to one another. One of us gets injured, the other one helps and heals and that kind of thing. Okay. I know I use, especially in these last 2 episodes about 2024 predictions, I'm saying a lot about animals and using that a lot as examples. Hello. Because we lack that a lot. It's very purposeful why I keep bringing that up, because there are a lot of people who think they're such great people. I'm a good person. I'm so evolved. And yet the way you think about and look at animals and wildlife, whatever, like you're not anywhere near as evolved as you like to give yourself credit for. I'm never saying that as an insult, never saying that as a judgment. Never, ever, ever do I come from that energy. I'm saying that to teach you so that if that's you and you wake up and realize that, you now have the choice to do something about that if that's not the vibration that you want to stay at. Right? So I use that for a reason. A lot of people, I'm a good, well, the dimension you're going to end up on is not what a lot of you would like or hope for. That isn't a threat. That doesn't scare you. Grow up. You have to be more mature than that by this time. Come on. It's to help you so that you can shift out of that, transform, elevate, rise higher, rise above all that vibrational frequency that you don't even realize you're functioning at. Do you understand? When you are in judgment of others, you are trapping yourself in that vibrational frequency, and that's the dimension you'll end up on. Because your soul needs to evolve in that way. You didn't evolve out of that yet, or you wouldn't be in judgment anymore of people. Do you see it? So everything that you choose over this next year, especially. So all of the choices, the buffet, the magical buffet that you're going to get to choose from one end of the spectrum to the other, all of it. The lust, the sex, the objectification, the demonic rituals, the drinking of child's blood, the raping of women, having sex slaves, the murder, the incest, the love, the unity, the beautiful communities, the honoring of people, the working together, the harmonizing with everyone and everything. All of it is going to be presented to you, and you will have options of what you will choose. And every single thing you choose, I don't care if 1 minute you're choosing from that side of the menu and the other you're choosing from that part of the buffet, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You're going to end up in a frequency of polarization, of dualistic, like the old earth has been for centuries. You're going to remain in a dimension of separation consciousness, ping-ponging back and forth, out of balance with a lot of mental illnesses, bipolar, depression, whatever. You're going to end up in a dimension with all that crap. The reason is you're not grounding, you're not centering, you're not stable and becoming balanced within yourself, where you want to be flip-flopping back and forth, everything over here, over there. Oh, I'm love in one, I'm love 1 minute, and the next minute I'm in hate and rage. That dimension will be chosen for you where you vibrate at. That's it. That's that simple, guys. Where do you want to end up? The choice isn't a mental choice. You don't make the decision in your mind. Energetically, you have to become, and that vibrational frequency is where you will be placed. Okay? Let me give you one last silly example. Let's say that you show up at an amusement park. Millions of people show up at this most amazing amusement park ever. And when you get there, you're like, oh my God, look at that. I'm dressed all in purple. Look at that over there. There's a purple entrance, and everybody in line to go in, all purple. All dressed in purple. Oh, this is magnificent. I know where I'm supposed to go. I'm purple. And then you look at your husband like, well, wait a minute. Wait a minute. You're all green. You're dressed all in green. Look over there. There's a green entrance and there's a line with people dressed all in green. I'm purple. You're green. Wait a minute. I don't see a mixture of color anywhere. What do we do? Your husband's like, well, I'm going with you. Let's go to the purple line. He's not getting in. He can wait in line all he wants to. Best intentions in the world, purple intentions. But my intentions are purple, except that you are actually showing up as green. Do you see it? You are actually showing up in green. You're green. Everything you have on is green. You're not actually purple. You are actually showing up as green. You can wait in that purple line. This is pseudo spirituality. You can fake being purple. You can pretend and tell yourself you're purple. You can tell yourself you're purple because your wife is purple. She's in purple. And you go with her in line, in the purple line, and you get to the purple entrance. You ain't getting in because you are actually green. There's a separation. Something happens. He gets ripped away from you. You're going in. Well, you actually have a choice. You could devolve. You could choose a lower vibrational frequency and stay green and see where that takes you. Or you could move through the purple entrance. Guys, you earn vibrationally where you're going to end up. You earn it. I'm a good person. I deserve. Get that fucking out of here. That's third dimensional thinking. It's not what I'm talking about here. Energetically, you become. And as you become, that is where you earn the entrance that you can pass through. You earn it by becoming energetically something more evolved today than you were last week. You earn it by becoming. So that purple entrance, if you're in yellow, you ain't going in the purple entrance. I don't care the rest of your loved ones have white, have green, have blue, have orange. They're not coming with you into the purple entrance when you are purple and vice versa. Now, energetically, you vibrate where you vibrate at the level that you vibrate on. I want you to understand. I really want you to understand what a magical gift the 20 universal ways of oneness are. If everyone uses that as a framework and you just become the way of responsibility, the way of patience and surrender and truth and presence and connection and compassion and harmlessness and gentleness and equality and trust and honoring and selfless service, et cetera, et cetera. If you become those vibrational frequencies and everybody uses that as a reference, everybody goes in to the same entrance. Your loved one, anybody that's important to you, if you all just become the ways, then you go into the entrance of the ways and you will enter into and you will settle in an earth dimension of oneness consciousness. And then you get to experience everything there is to learn and grow into and evolve into when you're there. That is the heaven on earth. Okay. When you use the 20 ways of oneness as a frame of reference, well, what way of oneness is lacking right here? What way of oneness is lacking? Well, this guy screaming at this young girl at the gym where my husband intervened, he was being harmful, intimidating, bullying. And that poor teenager, I mean, oh my God, the level of fear, how she felt. What was lacking there? I mean, a lot of things. But to keep it simple, he was being incredibly harmful. What was lacking because of what he was creating energetically in that moment? And my partner shows up, my husband showed up in harmlessness and gentleness to defend, to protect, to stand up for that girl. Okay. When you use the ways of oneness as a reference, so what dimension, if you continue to show up in these ways, what dimension will you end up on? Think about the other, and there was even another man that we're friendly with there who saw this whole thing happen. I'm not going to go into detail the story. I think I shared it in another podcast episode, I'm pretty sure. And the details don't matter for today's episode. But there was another man that we actually know and are friendly with that my husband talks to a lot who actually witnessed the whole thing. I didn't even see the whole thing happen. I only saw the very, very, very end of it. And this other man, there was not one other man in that entire gym. None of them. And one of them that we knew even witnessed everything that happened. Did nothing. Did nothing. And he claims to be a religious man. Believes in Jesus. Really? Do you think Jesus would have fucking stood by and watched that shit? And did nothing? Would do nothing? Give me a fucking break. What dimension of earth do you think that guy's going to end up on? But he's religious and he's spiritual and all. He's a good man. Are you really? You allowed harm, intimidation, bullying, sexism, and misogyny. You allowed that to fucking happen. You watched it. And you stood by in your powerlessness and you fucking did nothing. You're going to a dimension where misogyny, domination, patriarchy is still reigns, where all your suffering and your internal mental and emotional turmoil that you struggle with that never gets healed is still going to create a lot of personal suffering for you because you're choosing to live in separation consciousness in a place where inequality exists, where harm exists. That is how you end up energetically, vibrationally on a certain dimensional earth at some point that you cannot get out of. That is your final destination. You don't want to end up where you don't want to end up. Oh, but I'm religious. Oh, but I'm spiritual. Nah. What are you actually? How are you actually showing up in this world versus how you like to think you are? You like to think you're a good person. And yet, when push comes to shove, and there was a young girl being attacked in a certain way, bullied, not one fucking man other than my husband stood up. Not one fucking man. He was it. And even the ones that know him and know who he is didn't come say, hey, what's going on? You need any help? And if everything okay here? Not one fucking person. And men are protectors. My husband was. He was the protector of all the men in that fucking gym and that one girl being treated that way. Where were the rest of them? There should have been 15 men handling that guy, and not in a violent way. It was impressive the way my husband showed up. I use that as an example. The powerlessness in so many people that were right there and witnessed the whole thing from start to finish. Where do you think you're going to end up in these next few years? You don't like what you see in this world. How are you actually showing up to create what you don't want to experience? You want to experience powerlessness, victim consciousness? Don't help out an animal, a woman, a young girl who's being harmed in whatever way. Stand by, stand off to the side, be a fucking coward. Don't stand in. Don't help, don't save, don't rescue. Ignore it like it's none of your business. And see where you end up. I don't say that as a threat. I'm not saying it to put you down or in judgment. I never fucking come from that. Never. So don't project onto me. It gets fucking annoying. I'm teaching you so that you can make an actual conscious choice versus a totally unaware, unconscious choice. And then you end up where you end up. And you'll wonder why life is so fucking hard. It's not hard. Challenging. It's so simple to just make the choice to become. It takes work. It absolutely takes work. You want help? Go to mastersofselfuniversity.com. Make sure you subscribe, please. I would really appreciate that. Don't miss an episode. We're here to help you. Please share this with everyone you know. And become, please, energetically. I really invite you. I would love to see you working, uniting with me and others like me, where we get to end up in the not too distant future. It'll be here before we know it. It'll be like a blink of an eye. You have to do the work now. You're running out of time. A healed planet that is heaven on earth exists. It already exists. You have to energetically become it in order to end up there as your final destination. This is all being laid out very strategically for humanity. Okay. We have created what we've created for far too many centuries, and we were unable to get ourselves out of it. This is an intervention. This plan to create all of these different dimensions of Earth for you to go to and end up on is to help you evolve out of the horrific low dimension, low level of consciousness, separation consciousness that we've created for so long. We're no longer going to intermingle for those who are really genuinely trying to evolve and elevate and become higher conscious, enlightened people. Understand something. You can create heaven on earth and then live heaven on earth. That's what we're here to create. It doesn't mean you won't have challenge and you don't have soul lessons. We are divine souls who incarnate in human form to experience the human life, this video game that we've created, to move through it and experience and evolve through that. And while we evolve through that and experience it, there are things for us to learn, to awaken to, challenges and tests for us to have while we're here on a new earth, the dimension you end up on, even if it's the highest dimension of oneness consciousness, you will still have challenges and things to test you in order to evolve even higher. That's the whole purpose for your soul to incarnate. Do you understand? Challenges are not going to be excluded from your experience as a human. They will come in many forms, but they will not any longer be challenges from created from separation consciousness, hate, inequality, racism, misogyny and sexism, violence and war and murder. All of that, we don't have to, do you understand? We don't have to experience any of it. We don't have to torture and abuse animals. We don't have to experience any of that. We don't. The challenges that we need to, that our soul chooses to move through in order to evolve more and have this interesting, intriguing human life experience while we're here, they'll come in different ways. They don't have to come from horrifying ways, traumatizing, devastating ways. We don't have to experience that. Whether it's a subconscious, unconscious choice or a very awake, aware choice, it doesn't matter. We still choose it. Okay? So I invite you to awaken more. I invite you to put in the dedication, the devotion, the hard work on yourself, all of the effort that requires for you to evolve and become an enlightened being. And for crying out loud, I lay it out for you and I make it as simple as possible. You just have to choose to embrace the 20 universal ways of oneness to become a being of oneness consciousness. I teach you how to do that. And if you're willing and you want to become that, I welcome you. And then when that final destination comes, you'll be one of the ones that we can enjoy heaven on earth of oneness consciousness earth together. The earth of oneness consciousness exists. It is being created as we speak. It is expanding. It is getting ready. It's like the brand new construction dream home is being built as we speak. We just have to be prepared energetically to move into the new home. The dream home is being built. The earth of oneness consciousness is being created as we speak. Are you energetically going to get to move into that new home? The earth of oneness consciousness. All of the other dimensions, all of the other versions of earth that currently exist and are being created, it is your choice where you end up. I cannot emphasize that enough. If you want to end up on the earth of oneness consciousness, follow me, like, subscribe, go to mastersofselfuniversity.com. We have a team of amazing mystical warriors who are here to help usher in everybody who's ready to move through this kind of work and end up on an earth of oneness consciousness. That's what we're here to do. That's our soul mission. That is what we're creating. So if you are in alignment with that and that's where you want to be, remember, it doesn't matter what you want. Universe doesn't care what you want. The universe cares vibrationally what you are. What is your soul here to learn? And if you can't get out of the lessons you need and what connection actually is versus enmeshment, you're going to end up on a dimension of very low vibrational frequencies. And enmeshment, codependency, enabling are disgustingly low levels of consciousness, disgustingly low levels of vibrational frequency. Doesn't matter that you want to be on the earth of oneness consciousness. Doesn't fucking matter what you want. It matters what you vibrationally are, what you resonate at. That is the universe speaks in vibration. And so if you are that enabling, enmeshed, codependent, insecure, victim consciousness vibration, that's where you're going to end up. And if your family member, your spouse, your sibling is of a much higher vibration. You will be ripped apart at some point. So do the work, for crying out loud. Do the work. Do the work so that your loved ones that are doing the work do the work. You will not be separated. You will stay together and you'll end up together in this beautiful heaven on earth. But you have to do the work to get yourself vibrationally there. And all of your choices and all of your tests and all the temptations of who you want to be vibrationally are going to come in extreme ways in 2024. I hope you are better prepared for it now that you've listened to part 1 and part 2. Because vibrationally, you're going to be essentially put into certain categories within the next year. And it isn't going to be long after that that you are locked in. And there's no getting out of the dimension that you vibrationally chose. You cannot say that you didn't choose it. Energetically, you choose where you go. Okay? So I hope you understand that better. Thank you for listening. It's such an honor. Thank you for listening. Like, subscribe, visit mastersofselfuniversity.com, and I'll see y'all in the next episode. Thanks for listening, everybody.